Well, on to this story now. Several 350 Rand grant applicants have been complaining about being rejected for no apparent reasons. The Social Development Department admits now that there are challenges, but says all those that were previously disqualified are being reconsidered. Let's discuss this and other matters further now. We are joined by the Minister of Social Development, Lindiwe Zulu. Minister, a very good morning to you. It's a sad time for our country. Bob Mabena has left us, and I'd like to give you the opportunity to pay your condolences to him.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. A very good morning to both of you and a very good morning to your listeners. It's a very sad moment for everyone. It's a sad moment for me too, because I've had quite a number of encounters with the legendary Bob Mabena. I mean, he was voiceful, if I can say that. He was full of content. He was somebody that contributed immensely to radio. And so condolences to the family, condolences to the station. I got used to being woken up in the morning for interviews, and I looked forward to those interviews because I thought he just gave us an opportunity to explain ourselves at all times.
Yeah.
Condolences also to the greater radio fraternity. It's a sad moment for South Africa.
Yeah, thank you very much.
It's a more sad moment for radio overall. May his soul rest in peace.
Well, thank you, Minister. And let's get into the business of why we invited you then this morning. The social grant, the 350 Rand COVID-19 grant. What is happening there, Minister? The understanding, as we told viewers in that intro, is that the previously disqualified people who made themselves available for that grant, are you now reconsidering them, and what brings about this change?
Yes, we are reconsidering them, but still keeping to the original direction as to who actually qualifies. The fact that people are applying, are getting a second chance to it, does not change the original directions that we gave as to who actually qualifies. We made it very clear that anyone who gets any other social grant does not qualify. Anyone who gets any other money from UIF or any other does not qualify. Remember that I got worried when I saw the number of those that were disqualified running up to 3 million. I just thought something wasn't right there. And then I asked SASSA to please re-look into it, because I didn't think it was proper that we had so many people who were disqualified when we had 8 million people that had applied, and 3 million, at the time it was 7 million.
Yeah.
At that time for me, 3 million was a bit too much. So SASSA went ahead and put a system back to check why were these people disqualified. Many of them were under UIF, and some of them had gotten their money through UIF some years back, but they still remained in the system and in the database of UIF. And then we had 900,000 that were on that UIF who qualified, and we have since paid that 900,000 who qualified.
Minister, talk to us about how many people, therefore, have now received this grant. And there is also another element linked to the payment of this grant. Who actually is dispersing this grant? Is it the Social Development Agency itself, SASSA, or are you paying it through SAPO, the South African Post Office?
Yes, we have paid more than 5 million people already to date. And by the way, may I say we report to the President every week about the progress thereof, and the data that we send to the President. We break it down to provinces. We break it down to gender. We break it down to areas as to where these people are, because we are obliged to do so. The Auditor General also wants to make sure that we paid money to the right people. The money is dispersed by SASSA itself. You will recall that when we started, we indicated that how people could apply for that grant. So SASSA has been distributing it, but also we're distributing it through the post office. But due to some of the challenges that we find in the post office, for instance, the security issue in the post office, where sometimes the post office is attacked by gangsters who want to steal the money. So SASSA is also looking at other means which we can use, means that do not get people to get out in their thousands onto the street, but looking at other systems. You know, you have voucher system, you've got other system, but remember that we only left with a few months now to conclude the payments, because the last payments are going to be made in October. The president announced May to October payments. We left with very little time to finalize the payments, and we're doing everything to make sure that when October arrives, everybody who had applied and who had qualified is paid.
Minister, very briefly on this point, I still want to talk to you briefly about Zimbabwe. The post office, is it true that they are charging 15 Rand per transaction? And if that is the case, is that not too excessive?
Well, those are the engagements that we will continue to have with the post office, because we think that sometimes the cost is quite high. But we must also consider why we have to pay for that money. One of the reasons why we did not want to go out and get some other people to be paying the money, our biggest concern was the cost per transaction. And therefore, the post office also, by the way, must not be regarded as something else that's not commercial. It has to be commercially viable. It has to charge some money for us to use it. But we are in engagement with the post office for future purposes, because it's not only just about the 350 that we currently paying. There's also social grants that are generally paid through the post office. But we also don't want to make the post office, because it is a government entity, and then we end up thinking that it does not need the money to be able to be operational. It has to operate, it has to be professional, it has to be efficient, and therefore we're looking at how much is being paid by others, and the post office is charging us.
Minister, then let's move. I want us to talk about Zimbabwe, so I'll ask you to wear your hat as the ANC's head of international relations. The South African Special Envoy to Zimbabwe, that mission, what do you understand to be the status of that mission as we speak right now?
That status, the status of that mission is that President Cyril Ramaphosa decided on envoys, appointed envoys to go to Zimbabwe to engage. It is almost like a continuation of what South Africa has always done when there seems to be challenges in Zimbabwe. It is the responsibility of the neighbor, and that is President Cyril Ramaphosa and the people of South Africa, to make sure that we assist Zimbabwe. But also it is his responsibility as a chairperson of the AU, the African continent, and the people of Africa are looking at him to say what is it that he's going to do beyond just Zimbabwe. But right now you're talking about Zimbabwe. So he appointed those envoys, and they have to start doing their work. And of course, they will base themselves on a whole lot of other work that was done in the past by South Africa in supporting Zimbabwe.
Let me cut to the chase, Minister. Was the South African envoy to Zimbabwe prevented from speaking to the main opposition there, MDC Alliance, yesterday? And are they on their way back home to report exactly that to the president? And by the way, what is the ANC's characterization of the situation that's unfolding there right now?
With the envoys, it's not up to me to be talking about what happened in Zimbabwe right now, because they have to come back and report to the president who appointed them. And let's also be mindful of the fact that the situation in Zimbabwe is not that easy. It is complicated. In a way, you've got a governing party, which is ZANU-PF. You've got an opposition, which is MDC, which has also got different MDCs here and there. You've also got civil society and other people in Zimbabwe would like to see the situation improved in Zimbabwe. So we will wait for them to come back and report as to exactly what happened. We hear from the media that they were not allowed to meet this one and that one.
Yeah.
I think it would also be good for you guys to just get in touch with them so that they can explain directly what exactly happened in Zimbabwe. As for the African National Congress and the committee, I'm a chair of the international relations, we've already had our own meetings where we're looking at the situation in Zimbabwe and what else can we do from an African National Congress point of view, engaging with ZANU-PF in particular as a sister party. We call each other sister party. We're saying as an ANC, we want to be open, we want to be frank, we want to be honest in our engagement.
Minister,
we expect the same.
Is there a political crisis in the ANC's view in Zimbabwe?
In the ANC's view, yes, there is a political crisis in Zimbabwe, and we have to be frank and honest about it. If we are to help the situation, we have to be frank and honest about it, because we're asking ourselves the question, where is the dignity in all the Zimbabweans who are here? Where is the dignity in the young women who I see all the time washing cars, running around, some of whom are either teachers? Where is the dignity in many of them who are in the restaurants in South Africa working in that industry and sometimes being undermined, sometimes being laughed at, sometimes being sneered at by some of our own people? We're asking ourselves the question, where is the dignity in that? Where's the dignity in people being chased back at the border when they're crossing the border illegally and all that? These are some of the things that we have to be very frank about and discuss without necessarily breaking relations, because we are neighbors. We have to be frank with each other and help each other to make sure that Zimbabwe is what Zimbabweans want it to be. Zimbabweans and the African continent want Zimbabwe to be.
Minister, let me thank you very much for your time. So many questions to ask around this issue, but so little time. Minister Lindiwe Zulu is the Minister of Social Development in South Africa and, of course, the ANC's head of international relations.